I saw some of you who arrived early got a chance to work through the game a bit. I see some of you even completed the game, which is awesome. So how did you find it?
Wasn't painfully difficult.
Not too bad, right? That's good to hear. And what, you were able to solve it? Awesome, great. So you're able to run through it. So maybe my work is done for tonight, but I'll run through it anyway, just in the event that some of you might find it useful. So this game is kind of weird because it obviously involves numbers as the variables. That's incredibly unusual. Virtually, I think every single other logic game ever released that I can think of has always involved letters for variables. They might have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, or they might have X, Y, Z, things like that. I actually wrote my own logic game where I made almost all the variables start with the letter A. So if you want to get a taste of how tricky things can get, go on my website. It's the basic linear logic game difficult version. I use the names of Greek gods, so like Ares, Aphrodite, Apollo, Athena, then Dionysus and Demeter. So I like 5 A's and 2 D's. It's really tricky. The trick I think that I used was just kind of do ATH for Athena, APH for Aphrodite, and so on. So there are ways to deal with that, but of course it's not ideal. And people said, well, that's not realistic. And I'd say, well, putting 5 variables that are numbers is also not expected. It's unusual. So here, our variables are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's like our A, B, C, D, E. Not ideal, of course, but we can work with it. Now, we have these 5 digits. They're creating a series of 5-digit product codes, and we have the first digit, second digit, third digit, and so on. So there is actually an ordering component to this game. This is the first digit, second, third, fourth, fifth, and then we're going to be placing on top of this maybe something like this. Now, obviously, this is not something we really love seeing. It can get very confusing with the numbering and the variables. Maybe not so for you, but I don't love it. And under time pressure, when you've never seen this before, and you're under the stress of it being the real thing, obviously you can get flustered and make mistakes. So I'd recommend not numbering the slots themselves. Hey, come on in, take a seat. I recommend not numbering the slots. We have our 5 variables, and we'll just place them on top. And it's not like there's 10 slots, so I don't think it's excruciatingly difficult to actually just count this is third, this is fourth, and so on. So these are the 5 digits. Each digit occurs only once, exactly once. That's kind of a loophole closer, just preventing us from saying that maybe something repeats and then another one doesn't go at all. They tell us the second digit has a value exactly twice that of the first. So the second digit is twice that of the first digit. So if this was 1, this would be 2. If this were 2, this would be 4. If this were 3, this would be 6. But there is no 6, so this is not going to be 3. And this is not, if this was 4, that would be 8. Obviously there is no 8, so we're not getting these. Anything times 0 itself is going to be 0, right? So if this were 0, well, 0 times 2 is 0. We can't have variables repeat, so that's not going to work either. So what you see I'm doing here is I'm considering all the possibilities, even the ridiculous ones, and then I'm eliminating them. So if it's not going to be 0, 3, or 4, what's left to go on slot number 1? Excellent. Yeah, so 1 and 2. So we could either have 1 or 2. Those are our only 2 possibilities. If this is 1, this is 2. If this is 2, this is 4. Now, I want to divide the 2 possibilities into separate diagrams so I can make more specific inferences about each. So this could be 1. This is 2. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. We've already eliminated 40% of the slots. 2 out of 5 are fully determined. That's a pretty good starting point. Then they say the value of the third digit is less than the value of the 5th digit. So third digit is going to be a lower number than 5. So the third digit then cannot be the highest possible number. Highest possible number in the top scenario is 4. The third digit is lower than the 5th, so the third digit cannot be number 4. In this possibility, the lower one, obviously 4 is already taken, and third slot has to be lower than 5, so third slot can't be what? Excellent, awesome. Third slot cannot be 3. So if this is not 4, and 1 and 2 are already taken, what's left to potentially go here? Yeah, sure. So if we've already placed 1 and 2, and 4 can't be on slot 3, what's left to go here? What potentially remains? Excellent, yeah, 0 and 3. So it's going to be either 0 or 3 here. And then what about this slot? If it can't be 2, 4, or 3, what's left? Sorry?
1 or 0.
1 or 0, exactly, thanks. So it's going to be 1 or 0. Or maybe if you want to just put things in numerical order, we'll say 0 and 1, just to be consistent. Now, we said the third slot is lower than the fifth. So the fifth slot has to be higher than the third slot. So we already have, the fifth slot cannot be the lowest possible variable, meaning that it can't be what here?
0.
Excellent. This can't be 0, and this can't be what?
0.
Yeah, 0 again, excellent, because 0 is kind of, it's not placed here at all. So this can't be 0, this can't be 0. It has to be a relatively higher number. 4 is already taken, so it's going to be either 3 or 1. And then over here, can't be 0, it's going to be either 4 or 3. So we've determined almost everything here. Obviously, the fourth slot is totally open-ended and ambiguous, but this is still a pretty good jumping off point before going into the game. So that's it for the setup. Any questions on the setup? Hi, come on in. It's all right, yeah, take a seat. So this is the technique that's often called making templates or frames or worlds, essentially multiple possibilities. Every single valid scenario will fall within one of these two possibilities. Those are the only valid possibilities for the game. So at this point, I'd say we're good to go ahead and jump into the questions themselves.